Well, now it's time for the My Build part of our shows. And now I'd like to turn it over to Chris Course, who is the host for this part of our shows. Chris, welcome.
Thanks, Jim.
And by the way, congratulations on being a NMRA partner now and giving any NMRA member a discount on your company's products.
Yep, thank you. All right, we'll get started here. We've only got 3 tonight. Martin's up first. My Build, of course, featuring you and what you have to bring to the table. Next month, we're going to call it a challenge now. The My Build challenge will be the vegetation, scenery, that sort of thing. So show us your fauna, etc. I think fauna is the right word. All right, Martin, are you up?
Well, I'm upright.
Okay. Well, that's always a good start. All right. Looks like you've got 8 slides tonight.
Well, however many there is. Oh, gosh. Now I don't know which one's which.
Thought they were all the same.
No, there's 2 different gondolas.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully you have them together.
Yeah, they're in order the way you gave them to me. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is the I can't tell. Well, I'm going to guess. I think this is the All Nation kit gondola, which if I'm wrong, we'll reverse that in a few seconds. But it's an All Nation kit that I picked up for a whopping $1 at the Strasbourg meet about a year ago in a box. In the original box, it had a little note on the end saying "not complete." And I thought, for $1, what can possibly go wrong? I mean, even if it's not complete, even the parts are worth saving that were in the box. And as it turned out, it actually was complete, except for the stirrup steps. Everything was there. So, well, okay, I added most of the underbody details, but the rest of the kit is pretty much as it comes out of the box. After 40, 50 years later, it's, so these whole $1 kit sometimes is, it sounds like a terribly painful investment, but it can lead to a little bit of fun. So the decals are from K4 and can of paint, and off you go, and there's a nice car. Let's go to the next slide, whatever it is. Yep. Okay. So that is the All Nation one. So since I don't like empty gondolas because I think they're just painfully boring to look at, I built this rack out of some styrene shapes and just welded it all together with some methylene chloride, which is what Tenax used to be before they banned methylene chloride. Old chemists never go away. They just keep using solvents that you can't get. And they build things like this, and it's removable in a little piece of, I don't know what the other material is. It's not styrene, it's poly ABS that I painted aluminum. So that's one gondola. There should be another one then.
Yep.
Nope, that's the back side of the first one. The second one's below. That's a different gondola.
Yep. That's
the Walthers kit. It's a different car. So I built basically the same 2 cars. They're very similar cars, but not quite the same. But the Walthers kit, that was a whopping $15 investment in a kit. So and a load that was made out of leftover plumbing parts, very hastily thrown together and covered with a tarp and thrown in the middle of the car. So, for like I said, a whopping investment of $16 in kits. And the decals came off the same sheet, so I didn't have to buy 2 sets of decals. It's 1 set of decals. So you can find pretty good bargains at train shows if you get out of the basement and go out and do things, which I hope to do next month because there's 2 O-scale meets within 3 weeks. So I'll probably come home with a lot of stuff that I don't really need or want, but can't resist because $1 kits are hard to walk away from. And there should be another slide or two.
Yes. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that load was, because to me, it kind of looks like the jet engine out of a Harrier or something, but it's not.
Oh, there you go. There's more slides of it. So yeah, it's whatever you think it is. It is open to whatever your mind might convince yourself that you're really seeing. Don't work too hard on that though. Thinking is not good for the soul. But it's also a good way to get rid of some excess plumbing bits out of the plumbing drawer in the shop too. So I'm always looking for a way like how to get rid of something that I don't need.
Yeah.
So the best way I can think of is to make use of it and use it by attrition and make it go away. And there should be another slide or two.
Yep.
Oh, there's the underbody for people who are all excited about AB brake systems. Yeah, this is two of the unusual cases where I actually used AB brake systems. So I wish I'd made notes and taken lots and lots of pictures of this, because I'm going to have to go through this all in detail in about 3 months. So I'll do it again because I've got a Railcraft gondola, tin plated steel and brass, so I can solder it together so you can watch me burn my fingers, or at least hear me complain about it later. What's interesting is also it's a Walthers car, but I put All Nation trucks under it. Oh well, they were a good buy at the same train show. And there should be another slide.
Yep. I think there's this one, and then there's one more after this.
Yeah, well, this is the little store I've been putting together. I'm just about got the interior worked out. There's a few more odds and ends and things and bits and bobs to go into it, and odds and ends and so on and so forth. Maybe next month I can show you the end of it, because I might actually put it on a piece of plywood and put a little bit of scenery around it, just so I can qualify for April. So
there you go.
So there's a lot of those cans and stuff are castings, but a fair number of them are just pieces of brass tubing that I soldered the ends over and just painted. So I have this ridiculous, about half a shoebox of brass tubing that I picked up from the Harry Roberts auction, the state auction, about 25, 30 years ago. And I'm still using it. And I'm still nowhere near more than halfway through it. So there's a huge amount of brass tubing and rod. And then maybe one more or not.
Yep.
Yeah, the back room. And you've got to have a shop in the back room so you can build your model trains in it, or whatever it is you're working on back there. So it's coming along. It's not quite finished. There will be more things in it. There's a stock room with shelving unit behind it, with all kinds of crates and what have you on it. But there's a little tool workspace there, and I don't think you can't see it. It's down at the bottom. There's a pair of filing cabinets, but next to the filing cabinets, there's the store safe. We got to keep some valuables in there. Probably the brass trains are in there. But other than that, that's coming along slowly. It's getting there. Should be done next month. Ready for presentation here, at least.
Very nice as usual, Martin. Are there any questions for Martin? Comments?
What's the combination to the safe? I'm sure it's working on one of your kits.
No, you'll have to ask Berkshire Valley. That's one of their castings, I think. I'm not sure whose it was now that you asked me, but I'm pretty sure it's Berkshire Valley. A lot of Berkshire Valley castings in this, but there's also a lot of stuff from a host of others, as well as a lot of my own castings. Some Scale City Designs parts in there too. Are there any other questions? Nope. Okay.
All righty. Well, thank you, Martin. Appreciate it. And now we will move on to Greg. Ready,
Okay,
Greg?
I'm
All
unmuted.
right. It looks like you've got 6 slides tonight.
This was a kit that I was building for one of my clients. He had picked it up last year at Timonium, And it's the first Nick and Nora design kit that I've built. They're actually run by Mike and Karen Baker, but they do a lot of nice kits and a lot of detail parts. And this particular one, the client wanted it because of that sign on the side. Well, I mentioned to him, you see that big front window? We're going to want to put an interior in that. And he goes, okay, whatever you want to do. So I had gotten some interior parts from Pete's Modeling, from Mini Prints, and some lighting stuff from Evans Design. Next slide. And this was the interior that I ended up coming up with. I'm not a restaurant designer, so there's probably some stuff in here that a real restaurateur would look at and say, well, you can't do that. But I have a door going into the back room, and I have a little counter here. Now, his layout is set in the 1940s, so he wanted a 1940s style luncheonette. So I got as many pictures as I could of what they looked like inside and tried to mimic it as well as I could. So a lot of the signage and stuff I took directly from photos from the 1940s. So you have your cheese sandwiches for 10 cents and your pork chops for 15 cents. Next slide. And then this is the outside of it. He said it's in a kind of rundown portion of town. So I made it look a little weathered and not quite kept up. Since it was going to have lighting inside it, I made the roof over the main part removable, and that vent there is actually a handle. You can just pick the whole roof up by grabbing that. Next slide. And then this is looking at from the front. One of the things I've found, if I'm going to light the interior of a building, but I want to have curtains in it, I'll print the curtains on tissue paper. You know, once I find a pattern I like, I'll make the design on the computer, and instead of just printing it on regular paper, I'll print it on tissue paper, and that's how you get the light shining through it as if it was fabric. I don't go to that trouble if I'm not putting lights inside it, but it does help if you are lighting the inside. Next one. And this is looking inside with the lights off from the outside. When trying to think of a couple things to put on the tables, the building was going to be closed at the time, and I found that if I took a small styrene strip that was maybe about 1/16 by 1/8 and painted it silver and then cut it into pieces, it looked like napkin holders. And I thought, no, that's not bad. Next slide. And then this is looking in during the daytime, shining the light inside it. Now, where it's going to be on his layout, he'll be able to light it up sometimes. And I have the guy in the back. The kit came with a lot of nice little extra details. All of the interior parts I added, but the kit came with a sheet that you could cut out into little cardboard boxes. So I thought, oh, that's great. I'll put a cardboard box because, you know, he's getting ready to open up for the day, and he's taking ketchup bottles out of the cardboard box. The ketchup bottles themselves were bottles that came from Mini Prints, so they just painted red. So that's pretty much it. They'll be open for business probably around 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Very nice. Great job as usual, Greg.
It was a fun one. It took me about 3 weeks over first part of January, right after Christmas, and I'll get it to him next time we can meet up. He lives in West Virginia, and usually we can swap items at Timonium, but he's not going to be able to make the next one, so we'll have to figure something else out.
Yeah, awesome. Are there any questions for Greg? All righty. Well, thanks, Greg. Nice job as usual. And
Thank you, Chris.
All righty. Next up, we have Father Ron. You up, Father Ron?
Yep, I'm here.
All righty. So it looks like you have one slide.
Yes, I decided to try to build the Palace Theater across the street from the Alamo in San Antonio, Texas. And what you see is the theater on the right there. And my model of it, the facade only, is on the left. The Palace Theater is immediately south of the Woolworth building there, and what was now, I think it's Ripley's, believe it or not, is what's in the Woolworth building. And the present Palace Theater building houses, I think, a clothing store, a used clothing store, and the Guinness Book of World Records display. But this one is probably may be used on the SAMRA layout, may not be. It's kind of a scratch and bash. The top two floors are, I started out with the builders and not Design Preservation's Victorian windows, and I had to redo the inside of it in order to get it to come close to the pattern on the Palace building. The set of windows above the entries, that's all scratch built. I used N-Scale Architects bricks and cut out 3 rows and put 20 thousandths strip in there to represent the blocks that are on the building. And it's as close to imitating it as I could get. The building, the store entrance on the right is Small Towns by, I think that's a Rick's product, or what do you call it? I forget, not Rick's, but I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's that company that sells small town stuff. And then I did a scratch build of the actually theater entrance, and I couldn't you won't see it if it gets displayed on the SAMRA layout, but I couldn't resist putting a ticket taker in the box office there. I chose movies that were around in the 1950s. So the robe is what's showing there with Richard Burton and Gene Simmons, and you can't see it, but the inside, the Coming Soon, is another movie that came out almost right after the robe did in 1950. So, but I'm just showing you the facade because the rest of it is just all cardboard. You won't see it on the layout because it's right up against another building. So this took about maybe a month to do, piece by piece. I broke it down into pieces to get it done. There's a lot more detail, obviously, on the Rio building than I could actually model. I don't have the artistic skills to get all of the details, like above the top set of windows there. You can see there's quite a bit of detail there in the concrete castings, or the so I did the best I could with what I could do, and it'll be far enough away from the aisle that you won't be able to see that kind of detail anyway if they use it on the layout. But that's the Palace Theater. I'll be using the theater sign, I hope, on March 29th to show how I took the photograph and one of Walther's sign kit signs and made it bigger, so possibly it'll work on the front of this building.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
Yeah,
Great job.
absolutely. That sign is just really going to be something on that building.
Well, I couldn't find a font that matched that particular font. I don't know whether I will use the, you've seen those signs on felt boards that have, the letters for, a person's office number or whatever in the front of a building. Some of those, I have some of those, but they're sans serif. That sign is a serif type of font, and the closest I could come is something called Algerian, and it's similar to it, but it's not exactly the same. And I've looked all over to try to find that particular font, and I just can't find it. Evidently, it was around in the 50s or the 40s, because that's when that sign went up. But I can't find the font.
Huh.
Yeah, they ended up grandfathering a lot of fonts from both the Art Deco period and the wartime period, because printers started coming out with new fonts so fast, and some of the
Yes.
older ones just fell by the wayside. But I'm sure that if you get it, just spelling it out with a serif font, it'll be close enough that most people will go, "That's fantastic." Even
Yes.
if it isn't a perfect match for it.
Well, you can see that the actual letters stand out from the sign, but obviously you're not going to find that today unless you get your number 11 blade out and make your own.
Well,
I
or you
don't-
could find some laser cutter that might, for a price, obviously be willing to come up with a font that's pretty close and do laser cut of them into maybe some something that's very thin,
Right.
aircraft plywood or something, but that probably wouldn't be cheap.
I'm not sure the club wants to spend the money on that.
Yeah. I also like that you have a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Those were my favorites.
Yes, yes.